Oh my goodness. I just got chills down my spine.
What's up?
Oh my gosh. Look at this. Look at the people that are coming. Incredible. Good to see you, Jason. Blair with the dollar bills behind you, man. Like revenue, bro. Revenue. My God, I live in a house made of revenue. That's what you're basically telling me right now, Blair.
I kind of forgot this was my Zoom background from another meeting, so I haven't had a Zoom call in a while. So
Yeah. It's subtle, man. It's subtle. I like it. Oh man. See Nancy there. Hi, Nancy.
Hey there.
Oh man. We only got an hour, but we're about to have some fun, seriously. All right, so I got Jason. Oh, Guy, I saw you sign up right at the buzzer, dude.
I lost track of the days. Sorry, it's can't believe it's the 11th of January already.
Bro, you were killing me, Guy. You were killing me. I thought you were gonna make it.
Wouldn't miss it.
Good to see you. Matt Manning, my
Hey.
brother.
Another late entry.
Yeah. I didn't even know you were coming.
I didn't know I'd be in town, but yeah,
Yeah.
be here.
All right. And then obviously Jacob Fogg, my ace. Um, and then Caleb, who keeps me honest. And then Abby. So like this is like basically almost a yearbook. Like, you know, you get the high school yearbook of my life, the different stages of my life and my data journey, seeing all of you here. Abby, good to see you, man. I thought you'd be too busy to make it. It's good to see you.
No, same here. It's been a while, Johnny. I'm glad we at least get to catch up on this forum.
Yeah, yeah. I hope we have a good time. And then John Garrett, the elusive John Garrett. Good to see your tiny photo.
I'm coming on. Sorry.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. So since time is short, I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna give you a little bit of the clarity and the purpose behind this time. And this is going to be very introductory. So what I'm trying to do is a heavy lift, but many hands make for light work. And so my superpower is linking arms with people. First of all, identifying excellence in people, and then linking arms with people to do big things. So that's my heart. You know, that's kind of what I'm about. And really, Data Joe as a company, we're kind of positioned to try to bring that gift to media in the realm of data. So not all of you on this call actually currently work in media or serve media. Most of you do, but some of you don't, and some of you do only partially. But this is that everybody that I've invited has had some work or some experience within media. Oh, Robbie, hey, buddy, you've been here. I just didn't give you your shout. But here's your shout.
It's all good.
Yeah. So the two goals for this time, as far as what my vision is. The first is to foster collaboration. So nothing will make me happier than if you hear something from somebody on this call and you think to yourself, wow, I need what that person has. Let me go connect with them and get to know them better, right? Or for the reverse to happen. So fostering collaboration is number one in the realm of data with a focus on media. And then the second is bringing benefit to the media publishing space. And so, you know, this is a harder one. This is a harder one because, you know, as we all know, and I like to use Guy Tasaka's framework. Guy talks a lot about media 1.0, media 2.0, and then we're moving into media 3.0. And I'm kind of looking at that framework as, okay, what's media data 1.0? What's media data 2.0? And then what's this media data 3.0 that we're moving into? I would say, just to gloss over that real fast, the old school media was print, and databases weren't a thing, right? Nancy, like we both know, databases were not a thing. You use them for a couple things, but for the most part, the idea of storing or collecting information, even understanding your audience through data, was technologically just not done, right? Like even the book of lists that used to be done, these were done with Excel, with print faxing, like as an example. Media 2.0, we start using databases, right? We're using, databases like Quickfill, and we're using databases for, for CMS, underneath our CMS. We're using all these different databases. We're collecting data, but they're not talking to each other, and they're not being leveraged. It's all these different silos. And so we're heading into a time, Media 3.0, where people begin to leverage these different databases and data sets to create higher level intelligence to serve their communities better, and to be more profitable. Now I'm probably stumbling through that. I'm a student of this as much as anybody here, but that's the opportunity that I see. And so I'm saying, let me grab the people that I think have a part to play in that evolution, and let's see if we can come up with some practical ideas, strategies, roadmaps for helping media publishers and being greater together than we could be individually. So those are the two goals for the time. Now with that, I'm going to start with the first priority, which is fostering collaboration. And I'm going to give everybody a chance to answer a couple questions for me. And the first question is, what is your niche? What is your data niche? And, just try to give us as much clarity on that as you can, as far as what your data niche is. And then what is your data superpower, right? So that's the first question. And then after you're done with that, for each person, I'm going to ask you, what do you need? What's something that you need right now, right? Share a need. So who am I going to pick on to go first? Who is courageous? Well, Kenny, since you just popped up and I wanted to say hi to you anyway, can I put you on the spot, bro?
Yeah, sure.
So what's your niche, and what's your superpower in regards to data?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting. I kind of have like split focuses right now. So right now I'm the publisher of redbankgreen.com, which is a hyperlocal news operation. I'm also probably better well known as a creator of a company called Broad Street that focuses on advertising for small publishers like Red Bank Green. My data niche, we collect a ton of data, with data on every single ad impression that takes place. Nothing that's like personally identifiable, so it's all anonymous, but we're always studying like what advertising performs the best, what's the most engaging, really, like, so that we can help a publisher send back reports that the publisher, that's fantastic, like, let's keep doing it. I want our publishers to have advertisers forever. So we have tons and tons of, literally terabytes of data, and that's compressed. So it'd be like probably petabytes of data if it wasn't compressed. And on the publisher side, I mean, we have tons of like analytics data, not just Google Analytics, but like also we do our own analytics of tracking like where, what like user like affinities there are, and just basically content that's like the most performant and like the way our users engage. And I think what Johnny was saying at the beginning is right, is that like we store the data in different silos, right? And I've been really like kind of thinking about like, how do we bring it all together, right? Because there are tools that connect to different like data sources. Like we have, to get really low level, one of our databases is like ClickHouse. And this is where we store like terabytes of data on every single impression that ever took place on Red Bank Green and Broad Street. Then we also have MySQL, which is a relational database where we store a lot of like user information and everything like that. But then we have it hooked up into different like analytics and a bunch of other places. Now, what I've been thinking about is like, all right, how do I marry that all together? and how can I use like how can I also marry something that I've been focusing a lot, not to like throw around, I feel like it's cliche at this point, like AI, right?
Yeah.
Using frameworks like underlying frameworks, not just pumping stuff into ChatGPT, but using like underlying frameworks like Llama Index or LangChain to basically pump that data in, and then basically you leverage AI so that I can like ask it questions that are a little more open-ended. Because right now, when you want answers from data, you actually have to structure query. You have to get all the data in one place and then structure queries to make all this stuff happen. But if I can feed it into a model and then query it, like what kind of insight could I get out of it? So my data, my like superpower is really just like the fact that I've worked with like lots of data, and I've worked with low enough levels of AI that I can do stuff with it. But like what I need is like I need use cases for the best, like what are the insights that are actually really difficult to get now, that we can't get, that could be made possible with all of this data and AI. Because when something is so new like AI, it's not always immediate what the applications are. So sometimes you just have to wait for those applications to just emerge over time, just make themselves apparent.
Yeah.
Like nobody knew what a personal computer was like useful for like decades, or not decades, like years. People are like, why would you want a personal computer in your house? That's insane. That was in the 70s, but then like 10 years later, like a lot more and more people had them. So we're kind of in that phase with AI. Like what could we use it for, that we have all this data and we also have like the raw processing power and open-ended processing power of AI and the different like models out there, OpenAI being the most famous.
All right, so let me jump in here. So I hear a high interest in technology and the technological ramifications, and then I will also put tie a little bow on you, if you don't mind, Kenny. That the context you're talking about is within media publishing, right? So media publishing and advertising, and how to use data to maximize engagement and revenue. Can I put that broad of a stroke on it, and just tell me if I'm right or wrong?
There's that, and then there's just answering questions we haven't been able to ask before.
Okay, got it. So that's the visionary side of you, curious about the future. All right, so that's Kenny, Broad Street Ads, and I'll kind of try to help weave the threads together, because I've got a lot of people here with a lot of different gifts. But Abhi, I saw you smile a couple times. So because of that, your smile just got you picked on for number 2. To give a little bit about what's your niche, what's your superpower?
Sure. So my niche is a little hard to
It is hard.
get down to a few things. Yeah, I mean, so I've had a pretty varied background in data. Just for a little bit of background, I started my career working for a small outsourcing provider based out of India, and they were helping basically like Elsevier and Springer Nature, and basically STM publishers in terms of like digitizing their content, creating databases, taking journal articles, indexing them, creating abstracts, things like that. And when I joined them, they were just in the middle of kind of, let's say, repurposing themselves as a company to say that they were no longer a publishing typesetting company, but actually a data company. And then from there, we were actually acquired by a larger company called SPI Global. Now they're known as Strive. And so my data journey has been basically taking these technologies that we had created to help publishers in terms of like index content and basically take out and structure kind of unstructured data, and then turn those tools into kind of enterprise data platforms that then we went to sort of different different domains across industries, and basically said, hey, we can help you do this. So by the time I left Strive after about 8 years there, we were working with Zillow and helping to collect real estate data. We were working with financial data, but it was all around the similar theme of taking unstructured data, structuring it, making it super useful to end users, And then figuring out how do we actually, find insights from all this unstructured data, create new data products from that. And then from there, my journey took a little bit of a turn, and I actually got into ESG data, which is environmental social governance. And in that, I was working with essentially, I was working with a bunch of companies that were planning to go public, and they just didn't know what ESG data was, why they had to do anything. And so I was kind of helping them. And how do they create this entirely new data set from scratch? How do they actually create data, record data? How do they figure out, for example, they have 10 offices. How do they figure out how much carbon emission those 10 offices are producing? And it was kind of creating software algorithms, processes around all of that. So I did that for about a year and a half. And then I joined where I am now, which is Fitch, about now it's been about a year and a half ago. And I'm the ESG product owner at Fitch. So Fitch is a little bit different. We are actually a ratings company. So we rate companies, we rate bonds, we rate loans. And I'm in charge of kind of figuring out from a data perspective, how do we actually create these ratings? How do we store them? How do we actually make them available to our customers? What are, how do we find better insights through it? So if I were to pick a niche, I'd probably say it's around kind of structured and unstructured data. But then through my journey now, it's also been, I've had to be a data architect for our product because we're a relatively new product. So I've been working with our team on our data architecture, data modeling, figuring out visualization. It's been kind of across the board over the last couple of years.
All right. So, and I will say, I'll throw in here, the reason I invited Abhi to the call is because Abhi actually is in probably the top 3 people in my network that have dealt with the most complex technology in regards to data, and is able to deal with highly complex questions and highly complex business models with a great deal of money invested in them. So I appreciate you coming here, Abhi. I want to accelerate things a little bit because I want to make sure that we get everybody through. And so I'm gonna narrow it down to data superpower, and then I might prod and ask a few follow-up questions. So or even your interest in data. So I'm going to pass it to you, John, if you don't mind, and put you on the spot a little bit, since you're one of my newer friends, and then hear a little bit about your phygital approach to data and what you're trying to accomplish.
Man, you just set me up for like a real long time, but in the interest of time, I'll just say that I really believe in the power of print still and digital coming together. I own and operate Community Impact News, which is the largest local news company actually in Texas. We're at 41 markets in Austin, Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. Yeah. And our superpower, I think, is we are really good at packaging hyperlocal news in a way people really love, and we're really good operators. Like, we're really good. We have a great sales team. We have really innovative spirit here, and it can do. Privately held companies, I think, have a big advantage in the media space today. So that's who we are. My wife and I own the company. We don't have any outside shareholders or investors or anything like that. We're just mom and pop. All right. So I think. I think to kind of feed on what Kenny said, I think that, for us, what happened was the pandemic really gave us new opportunities that we didn't have before. With really, the email newsletter has just been gigantic for us. So we have like all these databases that are playing in different places, and obviously, the QR code is the gift to the printed word, and a way to connect people to connect the print to digital. Now there's like all these really great things to do, but we have all these different databases as well. We have a project right now on our team is working on to try to connect those databases. We think that having a reader seen as like, you know, just one universal address,
Yep,
kind of a golden address is what we're working towards. And
yep,
sorry, can you hear me?
yeah,
I-
yeah, golden record, yep. I hear
Yeah,
you.
and yeah, so I think that's what we're working on, and how, and then what do you do with that, right? I think is what Kenny's getting at. How do you actually take, you know, action that helps the reader get what they want, that helps the advertiser get what they need, and that helps the business move forward? How you know, once you get all that put together, what do you do with it? I think that's kind of the no man's land that we don't want to be in. So we're just curious right now. So you know, my needs are, I'm being very curious. I'm paying attention to what, you know, what people are doing out in the market. I just checked out Red Bank Green. I think that's kind of cool. And, you know, just kind of learning what people are doing. And I think we just had a question yesterday. We were talking about this data project, and we were asking the question, is there another media company or another company that has figured out a way to merge, you know, kind of the paid and non-paid reader, you know, the you know, those databases together in a really healthy way? And if so, can we talk to them to make sure that we're on the right path on some of our strategy?
Yep,
And so that's what my need is right now. And I'm looking forward to being this great resumes on this call. And I'm grateful to meet all of you guys.
yeah, man, thank you. Yeah, you captivated me when we talked, because I don't usually talk to publishers who are as data savvy and data forward as you are. So you and Kenny are kind of in a group together, I think, that is very rare. All right, so I'm gonna jump over right now to Blair. Blair, it's your turn, man. Tell us how you make the money rain all day.
Well, I mean, I've got the publishing background. You know, I was a publisher for a long time, and now, you know, I'm with SceneThink and CitySpark. You know, SceneThink is a piece of software I developed with SceneThink when I was a publisher. Developed a best of Reader's Choice software platform and photo balloting platform. And then and we also have the event calendar stuff on the CitySpark side. But I guess the data point or superpower right now is that, you know, I really believe that Best Of is one of the best aggregators of data, both in terms of, you know, kind of adding emails and then getting, you know, data from those people who participate, you know, who opt in to participate, and, you know, give you all of this data about their habits. And so we've got a ton of user data in terms of segments that they're interested in, and businesses that they're interested in. So one of the things kind of been working on is kind of looking at, you know, utilizing registration and self-service for SMBs to kind of get them into this kind of self-service portal. So to be able to kind of help the media companies kind of extend their reach and do more with less. And then on the data side, really kind of looking at how do we segment that data. And we have a lot of ways we've already segmented it in terms of interest level, and kind of maybe marrying that too with subscriber data and, you know, the other data that media companies have collected to kind of really create this rich kind of viewpoint of what their readers look like and how that connects, and also having this database of kind of and connection level with small businesses to kind of find ways to make money, and then help the SMBs, help the media companies, and, you know, kind of knit that all together. So Best Of is kind of at the center of what I've kind of been doing and, you know, kind of preaching for over 25 years, both in terms of ways for media companies to make money, and now to kind of take it further and use that data. So where I'm looking for help is the kind of tech side, how to really all make that work. We've got some great tech people on our side, but I think there's a lot of database experts who could kind of help us kind of push that forward. That's probably where I'm looking for help or have a need.
All right, so I'm gonna make a little connection here on the fly. So Blair, Robbie is one of the guys that I've talked to about the potential of Best Of, because the thing, and this is for people like Abby and maybe Zach who aren't necessarily familiar with Best Of. Maybe you're familiar with it, but don't work with it all the time. You know, Best Of is probably the greatest data user acquisition event that happens all year for a lot of these media publishers, right? I mean, we're talking about thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people voluntarily submitting their email address to vote. And so how do we begin to leverage that information in ways that create more knowledge and understanding and ability to segment the different users and drive engagement and drive revenue. So Robbie will get a chance to share a little bit later, but Robbie, Blair, you guys are going to want to know each other. Guy and Blair, I mean, Guy, you and I have talked about this a little bit too. And so that's also in Guy's wheelhouse. And then from a data enrichment, well, there's a lot there, but that's a sweet conversation. Now a question for the group real quick before we go to the next person. In your day-to-day, I'm sure everybody here is concerned both about revenue and engagement, right? Like you want to get revenue and engagement for your company. You want your clients to gain revenue and engagement. What do you would you say that you're more concerned about revenue or more concerned about engagement in terms of where you sit in time and the kind of problem solving that you do? Are you a revenue I mean, you're both, but are you primarily a revenue? If you had, revenue engagement specialist or focus, or more of an engagement? Does that make sense? Revenue or engagement? What's the bigger concern for you? So if it's revenue, raise your hand. If revenue is what you think about more often than engagement. And I'd say I'll put my hand up here for that. Guy, looks like your hand's up. Kenny's half and half. Shit, Abby's in the house. Okay. And then if engagement is, Zach, were you a revenue guy? Okay. All right. And then if engagement is your main concern, go ahead and throw your hands up. Wave them like there are no repercussions. Okay, there we go. All right, got it. So Robbie's more of an engagement guy. Jake, you're more of an engagement guy. Nancy, I knew you were gonna. I knew that about you already. Okay, so moving to the next little snapshot. Let's. I'm gonna throw Matt Manning. I want to hear you preach a little bit.
Okay, cool. This is a lot of fun, by the way. Okay, bunch of things.
We're nerds. We're nerds here.
Yeah, but our paths have crossed multiple ways. First of all, I absolutely love John's product, Community Impact. I'm down here in Austin. That is a freaking great product. Really beautiful design and execution. I read every issue. Really, really nice.
Man,
work.
I love you. Thank you so much. That's so kind. I love that you're here too. We should connect.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's not really my space exactly. I mean, I kind of have some roots back with click data and such, but not really my root, but I just as an end user really appreciate the product. My background is creating data products. So I moved to Austin here to create Hoovers.com, and I started on the publishing side and I moved to the outsourcing side. So I'm kind of the—
You just say you created Hoovers.com?
Yeah.
You freaking created Hoovers.com.
Well, I mean, there was a database, and I found the original plan. It was a fax I sent before I was even hired that just said, geez, sell it up by subscription. And that was pretty much it. So not exactly rocket science, but I did have a—
You have to pump up, like buffer your resume a little more than that.
Oh, I got stuff better than that. But the main thing was, it was a mixed model. It was, I mean, we talked about paid and controlled circ. John was talking about that, and, we started advertising. We were one of the first digital advertisers, E-Trade. We had, first GIF ad I ever saw practically, we had as a paying subscriber. So that paid circ thing is my background. It's like database publisher, then I switched to BPO, and, so I'm the opposite of Abhinav.
You got to translate BPO for us.
Oh, business process outsourcing. And it's very nice to see you, Abhi. It's been a long time. I met you once and I was so impressed with you. I'm so glad you came over to the content side.
Yeah. Thanks,
yeah.
It's good to see you again.
Well, likewise. And it also shows something there too, that the service side and the, and the publisher side, we're really not all that different, right? You wind up learning so much inside outsourcing because you work with all these incredible customers who are really doing cutting edge stuff. You see what works. I don't regret jumping over to the other side, but welcome to the content side. There really is no side, right? It's all one big thing. And then, so my background, superpowers are really just process engineering and execution. So kind of operational stuff, just making stuff happen quickly, quality wise, cost effectively. That's really, execution on new product development is really, I think, my superpower. My needs are like tech, like most of you guys, AI just hired a guy specifically because this AI stuff I just can't keep up with it personally. And so, we just hired somebody from Innodata who was really deep in those waters just because there's a lot there. I mean, my upshot is that it is just like Kenny was saying, that it's the interface for queries, basically just makes queries better, cheaper, faster. And there are a million applications for that, but that's the low hanging fruit. There's a ton more, a lot of products coming online. Everybody's talking about it. All our big customers anyway are talking about it. But for us, we're using it just as kind of an interface to big documents so you can search them easily and effectively. And that's
No,
along on this road. Yeah.
I appreciate you, Matt. There's so much more. I am hoping that through the course of this call, people will kind of understand, okay, this is what this is, and this is what the goals are. And then you can kind of decide, am I down for this long term, or is this just is this a one-time thing for me? Which is either one is fine, but I do plan on continuing to have a cadence of conversation so that like these little doors that are cracking open and you're hearing, okay, that's wisdom there, right? This is a person who knows X that I don't know. That those doors can get open a little wider over time, or we can start to enter into true collaboration, right? This is just the first step on the journey. And so Matt, I appreciate you on that. And then I will just point out Jacob to you. Jake is a lot of people are saying tech. Jake is a true technologist and architect. And so I'll let you speak in a little bit, Jake. You're like my best friend, so I got to make sure everybody else gets to talk before you. Not necessarily, but I would like to pass it over to Guy, actually, and then tell everybody a little bit about your superpower and where you sit.
Hey, thank you. Johnny, I am kind of set in the middle of everything. My background's business strategy, research, and then the second part of my career was in media tech. So what I do is build business models and then align the technology needed to support those business models. I think my superpower is making really complex things really simple and understandable and relevant for publishers. And I want to give a shout out to John Garrett. I keep a list of 3 of the coolest media products that I wish I had invented, and Community Impact's one of them. Later on this afternoon, I'm interviewing the CEO of number 2. So and everything that you're talking about, I'm working on right now. The concept of Media 3.0 takes into account that the key things in the next phase of media, local media in my case, is trust, because I think AI is going to take supply to infinity.
Yep.
The first 10 pages of Google search results are going to be useless because of all the AI generated content. So we need to focus on 2 things: first party data and having the ability to target our owned and operated people or audiences. And secondly, being able to, I guess, reach lower in the conversion funnel. Local media, TV, radio, newspapers, great high funnel activity. But how can we take first party data? How can we use our websites, which is going to be our greatest asset, to create audiences of purchase intenders? Think about business directories, voter guides, and then taking that and marketing it back to the local businesses, and not just selling media on our O&O inventory, but selling extended reach into connected TV, into digital out of home, but using that flow through our websites to become basically a publisher DMP, a highly trusted publisher DMP. That's what I'm focused on right now.
Yep.
I don't have a media company to work with, so I consult, but I really, I'm in the process of proving a lot of these concepts
Mhm.
using the CDPs I have that are connected to 500 DSPs. So you can push the audiences directly into 500 DSPs across all media types. So that's what I focus on. So John, I'm gonna,
Appreciate you.
I owed you a call. I need to reach out to you, show you what I'm working on. But yeah, it's and John knows I make complex concepts simpler.
Yes, you do. Well, I mean, I'm using, like, I literally use frameworks of language that you taught me, which is like this idea of media. What could be simpler than looking at media from 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and then defining those seasons and then commenting on the trajectory. Like, I think it's genius. So,
Johnny, one last thing. There's an article that I wrote in Editor and Publisher this month, and it's titled 2024, Please Stop the Insanity. And it shows 20 years of failure. Like it's almost impossible to have a trend line that goes like that with 7,000 newspapers trying to figure out the answer. The only way you have that is if you're trying to solve the wrong problem, because even a blind squirrel finds a nut, right? I mean, there should be a leveling off or a spike, but we see 20 straight years of decline. So we got to try something different. So
I love
anyway,
it, man. I love it. I'm a huge fan. John Garrett, you that was some high praise you just got, bro. For because
Guy's a legend, man. I know. I thank you, Guy.
yeah. All right, man. Now I'm gonna pass it over to let's see, Zach. Zach, give me some. Give me what you got. Zach is a data visualization. So tell sing your song.
This is hey, good to meet you all. This is really interesting. This is actually I'm having back-to-back meetings with Jacob here, so this is sort of fantastic.
Having a good day.
So what we do is we're a solution provider that helps companies who have valuable data create visual, interactive, analytical products out of that data. So we're helping companies effectively monetize and create revenue from the valuable data that they've collected. So when Matt says data products, we're often talking about data products. We're working right now on the book of lists and thinking about how to make that a more generate more revenue by digitizing it essentially and making it visual and exploratory.
Yeah.
My superpower is around data visualization and data storytelling. I've been at that for about 18 years, written a lot about this and really about helping people. What I care about is helping people bridge what I call the last mile of data, which is like you do all the analysis, you do all the exploration of the data. How do you make it so that human beings can understand what it means and what they should do about it? And that's a bridge that has not been solved. It's a problem that has not been solved despite my 18 years of work on it, but I think we've made some progress.
Yeah.
So that's what we are. And, our need is we're always looking to meet people and organizations that feel like they have untapped value in their data and want to see if they can create solutions from that data.
Excellent. Yeah. And then point of contrast between Zach and Matt. So Zach, you're much more front end display.
That's
right. You're like a client comes to you with a data set and you're going to help them take that data set and turn it into an interactive,
very much about packaging it up and
packaging
turning it into a solution. Yeah.
Whereas Matt is the guy that you say, hey, I want this data set. And then Matt gets it, and creates a process or a system for getting that data set. And then not just getting it, but a system for updating it and keeping it evergreen over time. Right. Am I doing you justice, my brother?
Indeed.
Best one doing it. So let's see here. Any other points of contrast here? Nope. All right. So I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna Robbie. Tell him what's going on, man.
No, I have a background that involves both heavily in publishing. Worked with the Tribune Company 14 years of my career and continue to work with big and small publishers, and then also kind of extend into the nonprofit association world. which I consider publishers as well. They produce a lot of content. It's under a different mission and purpose. And so it kind of through this journey of, and it really accelerated through COVID, was the use of a CDP. And that is, it's what everyone's described in this call in one way or the other.
Can you define CDP real quick though?
Customer data platform. So the idea that you use a customer data platform to unify all different data sources to really maximize the opportunity. And if you're a publisher, the intention is to help the content team create more engagement, which feeds the ecosystem of marketing and ad sales. If you're a marketing person, you understand what the person's done, so that level that subsequent journey and personalization can feed subscriptions or product sales. If you're an advertiser, you want heavy segmentation to be able to sync across all different platforms. That's both on-site and off-site, and it really comes down to data synchronization in real time of understanding what people do. On the flip end, what we did quickly notice is that companies who engage with this type of strategy quickly didn't know how to monetize the data. And so we call it a revenue accelerator, and it's focused on action plans that says, this is what these are your organizational goals, and most often they're singularly focused. And it might be for a publisher that they want more subscribers. So it's really enacting plans that help them say, okay, if your media goal is more subscriptions, helping them really level set in what the realistic outlook is. But in a more important sense, helping them kind of understand that the opportunity with your data extends well beyond just subscribers. And in fact, your non-subscribers are probably going to be your most valuable data set as applied to the different parts of the business. And so as Apple has locked down their platform, as privacy laws ratchet up, as Google has now officially started to deprecate the cookie, organizations that rely heavily on third-party data, and sadly media companies, particularly from their largest revenue streams, which could be consumer revenue through subscriptions or advertising sales, still rely heavily on that because they're not well positioned from a platform standpoint. It's really that transformation from I don't know how to use my data to I got an idea how to use my data to I'm now deploying all these strategies that are really focused on first party data.
Right. Yep. Robbie is super strategic. And so like John Garrett, when you and I talked, a lot of the vocabulary I was using is you and I wouldn't have had the conversation we had if not for Robbie's influence in my life. So Robbie's kind of taught me from an execution, like going into the guts of a media organization. Cause I was noticing that I keep seeing media organizations like buy CDP, one of the popular ones is Omeda. And so buy it, but then it sits on the shelf. And there's not really measurable revenue or, articulable progress happening in a lot of ways. And so Robbie is the guy that I identified that solves that problem, the gap between technology and strategy and execution. And so that actually is a great segue over to Jason, because Jason, I think you also have kind of an up and coming skill set in that area. And so would love to hear a little bit more about how you see yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the intro. This is a fun conversation group. I don't often sit in a room full of people that actually know anything about my world. So this is pretty exciting. There's a whole bunch of people in here. Yeah. So yeah, I'm let's see, about a 25 years experience, originating sort of in the web analytics space. And sort of digital media, digital marketing measurement has kind of been the bulk of my career. Right now, I'm director of digital data at a marketing agency called Masterworks. And we very much like what Robbie said, we work exclusively actually with nonprofits. And I would say my data superpower, I'm like half engineer, half sales guy. And so like I bring those together. I work really well getting dumb clients to understand what the developers need to build for them. So lots of that kind of work. I love being in front of clients. I love people with gnarly problems, and I mean, it isn't just the CDPs that are sitting on the shelf, like Johnny was saying. Like, I run into not like giant nonprofits that absolutely should know better, but that, I mean, they're barely scratching the surface with the basic features of Facebook advertising,
Yeah.
with basic features of display, basic features of, like, you know, just all of these marketing tech that's sitting on their shelf, not doing much.
Yeah.
And so I spend enormous amounts of my time just harvesting low-hanging fruit for clients. One particular interesting use case that Johnny and I were talking about recently, we've got a giant nonprofit that's very content heavy. They understand their audiences pretty well. They have, you know, 8 or 10 or 12 different major audience segments. And we were able to stand up a sort of a web analytics at its core data set through a CDP, and then deliver that information real time to the website, so that as people from those content silos were coming back to the website, they could personalize marketing messages for them on the site. Like, hey, we know you're interested in this. And like I said, everything's nonprofit, so everything is about donor dollars. And so these were offers for, hey, do you want to support, you know, this particular nonprofit content initiative with your dollars at the end of the year, you know, as giving season kicks up? Like, that's a very tactical web analytics based through a CDP, delivered on the website through a series of different media channels. Kind of an idea of the kinds of things that I'm involved with. So
Love it. So one person you should know, Jason, is Jacob Fogg. You guys will have a very fun conversation, and you should do that soon. If you,
cool.
So let's see here. Nancy, I'm gonna let you talk, and then I suspect you and Zach might actually be a good pairing. But go ahead and tell us. I told you I was gonna put you on the spot, and you thought maybe we were gonna run out of time. You were hoping.
Yeah. I listened to all of you, and my background is strongly in journalism and being in many newsrooms and working in both the print and digital, and then audience end of things in several different newsrooms, all kinds of newsrooms. But you all are the kinds of people that, you know, I geek out talking to and trying to explain to journalists why data is important. And I've watched what Guy said, that decades, I've been there for all of that. And it's depressing as hell to have been in media in the early 80s and have a million circulation at the Detroit News and multiple ways of getting news out to people, and then watching that just go like that. And I hate it. I hate the fact that the passion I have for news and for local news and for bringing data to people, in the news is much less. We have much less ability to do that because journalism has taken such a free fall.
Yeah.
And so now I am no longer in newsrooms, but I have a great passion for helping people understand how important it is. And I teach. So I teach journalism. And one of the classes I'm teaching this semester is data-driven journalism, multimedia journalism. And I want
catch that. She's teaching the course.
Yes.
Teaching the course.
And,
all right.
And it's really important to me that I impress upon students how many ways they can use data to tell stories, and that there is a future for doing this. If the media organizations beyond the New York Times and the Washington Post and the largest ones figure out how to make money, which I think it all centers on data. I mean, everything that they do, from the littlest publication to a hyperlocal publication to, your local, long time weekly, everybody needs to understand how important getting data out to people, it will help save democracy, and that's my passion, and that's what I love. So I love listening to all of you, because You guys are the people who behind the scenes are making it all possible for us to keep that alive.
Thank you. I appreciate that. See, that was awesome. All right, so I'm passing it over to Jake. What you got?
Hey, Al. I'm a almost 20-year veteran connected with the publishing industry, and it's been a fun ride. I've spent 15 years working with and helping to run Data Joe, where the whole ideology was really connected to curating data and curating really valuable first-party data about businesses. Our original primary audience was business journals, and now a lot of city magazines are involved as well. And I recently made the shift to actually being really a fractional CTO for publishers. And so the whole idea is, I come on board and help consult with publishers to help them grow their technology and really curate that technology so that the different pieces all interact. And so data is definitely a passion of mine. I've been working with large data sets for a very long time. And I'm also, Kenny, super intrigued by what changes we're going to be seeing in the next year. It's going to be pretty dramatic. I really believe that. And so, I raised my hand when it came to more engagement because right now in my job, my partners are really relying on me to help bolster that engagement. And it's kind of a funny positioning because while engagement is my primary goal, I 100% understand how it's directly tied into revenue, and that engagement, without the engagement, revenue is not possible. And so yeah, that's really kind of my background.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. We're down to about 8 minutes, and Caleb, you get to go last. Caleb is our director of operations here at Data Joe, and I'd love to hear you give a quick spiel.
Yeah, so I think related to data, my superpower is kind of just making sense of it in a way. And so we at Data Joe, we handle a lot of data, and it's all coming in from different sources. And our goal is to basically translate that into something that makes sense for our partners. And so whether that's a ranked list based on nominations of people voting for different professionals in a specific vertical, or if it's us collecting and accumulating data and then putting it into an algorithm to come up with, what are the best retirement facilities in a specific geographic area, and figuring out everything along that whole pipeline. So how do we get that data? How do we collect it? Who are the people we need to reach out to? What kind of questions do we ask them? What's the action that we take with that information? Limiting the scope of our surveys to only ask the highest value, most necessary information, because I think everybody knows the more you ask, the fewer people actually want to fill out everything that you ask them. And then turning that into like a very concrete process that we can hand over to anybody, and then they can take that from start to finish and create something complete. And so I really like getting my hands into every step of that process and creating the processes, and then being able to hand that off to our team who does a great job with actually creating our end products.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So everybody got to share. So this is what you can expect if we continue this journey together. Is that the calls that we have will be about what people offer and what people need, right? So the need will be, we'll have more time in the future, I think, to cover need more, because I'm convinced that if you have a data need, and this picture is like so clear to me, like if you have a data need, there's somebody in this room that either can take care of it or that knows somebody that can take care of it, right? Because each of us, so what's represented in this room is actually probably hundreds, if not thousands of people who are excellent in some aspect, some niche application of data. And so the goal here is to create that spider web, to begin creating that spider web so that, John can say, man, I really need this specific thing. And I have no idea where to start looking for it. And it's like, okay, well, either somebody in this group knows, or somebody in this group knows somebody who knows, right? So that, to me, that's just value, period, full stop, end of story. And I preach that because that's what I've discovered. The reason I know all of you is because I needed something, usually, right? I needed something and I asked somebody and somebody introduced me to somebody, and then all of a sudden you got Johnny talking animatedly on your screen so loud that you have to turn your computer down, right? Like that's what happens. And so I'm like, let's extend that gift out. And then we will be continually talking about application. How do we harness the skills that are in this room and the offerings that are in this room in order to benefit media publishing overall, right? And help people, right? Because it's one thing if I come with just each of us has a part of the machine, or each of us has a part of what publishers need. And so what happens if we start to organize and then when I come, it's like, no, I'm not just selling my part. Here's the holistic, here's the thing where if you sign on the paper, next year your company just doubled in revenue because what was contained in this room fitted together in the correct way was the secret to you actually accelerating your transition into Media 3.0 and becoming something new and more effective than you ever were. So that's I'm a visionary, that's how I think. But as you can see on this call, there's a mixture between visionary, idealist type personalities and executor personalities and planner personalities. We've got all of those represented here. And so if you want to ask what we're building together, that's what we're building. That's what I'm trying to build, is benefit for media organizations through data, through leveraging multiple hands, and then benefit for each other through leveraging each other's networks to fill in the gaps that we're missing. Because I don't want to be Matt Manning, right? I don't want to be Abby. I don't want to be Blair, right? I want Blair to be Blair and let me be me. And then let me lock arms with Blair when I need something, or Kenny or whoever, or Nancy or whoever it is. So theoretically, if you were to join me again, and if we were to turn this into a cadence, would monthly sound good? Would quarterly sound good? Would biannually sound good? Right? And tell me, like, honestly, with your schedule, what you would potentially sign up for. And so you don't have to raise your hand now, but I'd love if each of you would shoot me a message at some point, or like just letting me know. First of all, and we got 2 minutes left. So this is the one ask I have for everybody that got on this call. Handpicked every single one of you. You right? Like, so what I'd like from you is one takeaway that you got from this call. And then whether you'd be open to a cadence, right, over time, of a group of similar structure. There might be people coming in and out, over time as I grow this media data collaborative idea. And then if so for cadence, if yes for cadence, then what cadence would work for you, right? And then that'll help me determine, whether this thing kind of is just a great time that we had all together this one time, or if this is something we're going to keep doing off into the future. So anybody got any closing comments before we move on? Anything rising up? Oh, go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah. I hate to be the person who says they have to hop at 2 p.m. I have another call I need to jump on, but I wanted to go really first. I think this is fantastic. There are a lot of people that I've heard a lot of you guys from like other conversations and people in the industry, like John, people talk about community impact. Guy, of course, I'd heard a bunch of times, and Blair. I really enjoyed this. I think in terms of if you were going to do a cadence, I'd say probably quarterly at a minimum. I think things move too quick, and like just technology is changing so faster that biannually would be like things would be entirely different every 6 months. So so it's I'm torn somewhere between quarterly and monthly, but I got a lot out of it. I love perspective. It's the most powerful thing I think I could possibly gather, when I can just hear what other people think. I'm not my own little bubble. So I really appreciate everyone hopping on, and Johnny, for you putting this together. You are the connector. You're the one doing this kind of thing. Without you, like, this wouldn't happen. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate that. And so everybody, we're gonna close on time. So, but please do send me an email or text message or whatever, just with those 3 questions, right? One thing you got out of it, if you're open to a cadence, and if cadence, then what cadence? And with that, man, take care. All the people that I love and respect. Have a good day.
Yeah, everyone.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks, y'all.